Hi, everybody. I was just saying that this could be a dinner muffin if you wanted. It's not a full meal, like there's not a ton of protein in it unless you go with the egg white option where you're just doing like pumped up egg white. Um, but it could be because it's savory. So it's like a little bit of a sweet and savory kind of thing. So you could definitely do this as a dinner muffin. Some people go full on dinner with this and add like herbs instead of the fruit. So you can mix and match that if you wanted to. So we can wait a few minutes while we go through recipe. Let me just open up behind the screen. I think we might, I don't know if either one of you guys have cooked with us before, but um, my name is Fabiana. I am the chef at Green Apron Kitchen in Sayreville, right outside of South River. And we do family focused cooking, kids cooking, adult cooking, intro level stuff, 101s. And then we also do more elaborate stuff like cake decorating and French pastry and things like that. For this series, we focus on health conscious recipes, so more heart healthy recipes and recipes that are kind of staple recipes for your kitchen. For this week, we're going to do a corn muffin that's been enhanced a little bit with wild rice, which sounds a little um, out there, right? But cooked wild rice, leftover wild rice makes a great addition to the corn muffin because it adds a lot of body to it. It adds a lot of flavor, a lot more iron. Um, and depending on how you cook your rice, it could even have protein in it. So if you cooked your rice in, I recommend cooking it in like a bone broth or something like that, chicken broth, bone broth. You're going to up your protein content when you do that. So that's a fun kind of little piece of information. So all of kind of the essentials that you would have for your corn muffins. You're going to have about a cup and a half of flour, in addition to a little bit of, let me open up what I have for you guys. Cornmeal, corn flour, cornmeal, um, um, uh, my brain is like foggy. Masarepa. Some of you guys might have masarepa in your cabinet because it's cooked cornmeal. You can use that. So I combined my cup of flour and my half a cup of cornmeal. So together it's a cup and a half. If you're subbing, taking one of these out, just fill up your grain. Okay. So it's a cup of flour, a half a cup of your yellow cornmeal or any kind of like cornmeal-esque flour. Then you're also going to have some oil, quarter cup of canola, soybean. You could use an olive oil, but use a light olive oil. You could use a vegetable oil. That's fine. Coconut oil, not really going to be great for this because it's going to get too weighty. So a lighter weight oil, I have mine in here. It was easier for me to measure. So that's a quarter cup. You're also going to use a quarter cup of an egg product. So either a fat-free egg product, like liquid egg whites or egg whites, uh, vegan egg, anything like that, you would use a quarter cup or one whole egg. I went ahead and put my whole egg inside my milk. We're using 3/4 of a cup of milk. In the recipe, I did a fat-free just to keep the calories down, but you could use full fat, you can use cream, you can use almond milk if you wanted to, or a milk substitute. But I went ahead and put that in here, and you're gonna those are going to be combined together. And then you're going to have your half a cup of sugar, baking powder, 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder, not baking soda. Okay. There's no acid in this recipe. So we need baking powder, pinch of salt, and your cooked rice. So I have my rice in my baggie. It's, I don't know if anybody else does that, but to save space in my kitchen when I have grain, if it's left over, sometimes I'll put it in a baggie and then leave it in the fridge and mark it. It's just easier for me. So very easy to build this recipe. We are going to do dry ingredients and then add in our wet ingredients. So you're going to do your flours right in the bowl, both kinds. Go ahead and give it a mix. And then you're going to add your sugar to that. Let me grab my sugar. That's the one thing I didn't have measured out. Sorry for leaving. You're going to do slightly sweet, okay? It's not going to be a huge amount of sweetness, but it's going to be slightly sweet. We're going to do half a cup of sugar. So I'm going to add my half a cup. I scoop right in there. half a cup of sugar. There we go. Go ahead and process it all. So you're going to mix all of this together so that basically you've sweetened up the base of your muffin. So I have in here, I have my 1 cup of flour, half a cup of sugar, and a half a cup of my cornmeal. Okay. I'm using a regular cornmeal. If you're using masarepa, it might be a little heavier. That's fine. I like that product because it's already cooked. You can add in your pinch of salt as well and work that through. And then we're going to work on our wet ingredients. I'm going to move this so you can see. I didn't know how to switch my phone around before. So you see that I have right in my milk, I have my egg in there. And I like to do that because it's going to give my consistency to my milk so that it gives it the same amount of weight. I'm not worried about separating my egg yolk and my egg white. Sometimes when you mix it in with the dry, you'll see it get clumpy. The egg will actually clump up in there. Go ahead and mix it with your milk so that that doesn't happen, okay? Because we have a lot of dry grain in there and we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to mix that nicely. Go ahead and add that in. And my oil, okay? So now I'm going to do my oil right in there as well. And I'm just going to really process, just using a spoon for this, I'm going to mix this super well. So I'm not doing anything special, but you'll notice that as I'm mixing, I'm not getting those dry clumps that sometimes happen when you mix egg right into your dry ingredients. So when you're doing a recipe where it's a one dump recipe, dry and wet in the same bowl, you always want to mix your egg in with your liquid so that it doesn't soak up all of that dryness. Okay, so we're just mixing. It's already a nice consistency. So we've got our skim milk or our whole milk, whatever milk you're using, with our egg, our oil, our flour, our sugar, our cornmeal. Then you've already added your baking powder either to your flour or you're adding it in now. 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder and a pinch of salt. Okay. Why do we use baking powder and not baking soda? So there's no acid in this recipe. So this is a really calming for the gut recipe. If we had an acid like, say, lemon juice or a yogurt or a vinegar or something that has a high pH level, we could use baking soda. We don't have any of that. We're using baking powder. In baking powder, there's cream of tartar, which I know that anybody who's made meringue has used before. That is an acid, and it has some baking soda in it, and it has its leavening. So we're using baking powder for this because there's no acid in the recipe. So we're going to get this to a nice creamy consistency. So this is a really, it's a nice lump-free, thick kind of consistency, okay? So it's not a dough, but it's definitely not a pancake batter where it's really thin. It's more along the lines of like a really good cornbread. We also don't have butter in this, okay? So there's no butter. We have enough oil in it where we don't need to grease it up with butter. So we're just gonna give this a nice mix. And then at this point, what you're gonna do is fold in your rice, okay? If you are doing this in a large muffin tin, you're gonna either spray it or line it. You could do that now and also get your oven to 400. Well, I'm going to use large muffin tins here, so I'm probably going to get 4 really nice sized muffins out of here. But get your oven to a good 400 degrees and just make sure this is all kind of mixed thoroughly. You're going to fold in your rice. If anybody is not using rice and you don't you might be like, this is the first time I'm cooking, you know, a baked product with rice or with a grain. I want to see how this goes first. Think, you know, you can experiment with other kinds of grain, amp up your corn if you want, or mix and match what you do with your rice. So in the recipe that I have, just to kind of introduce your palate to the idea of corn in a baked good, we're also going to add, if you would like, frozen cranberries or fresh cranberries. You can get the dried ones too, like the craisins. Those are fine. If you want to really, you know, change this up a little bit, take out the cranberries and add in some squash. Squash, pumpkin, sweet potato, all that stuff goes really nicely in this. And I bake with squash and sweet potato all the time. It's perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and fold in my cooked rice. I definitely recommend putting it in a baggie like this. This is my cooked rice. I use a small grain wild rice. It's usually black with some specks of white. That's what I have in here. And I'm going to just fold this through. Any wild rice is going to work. I like the colorful ones because it adds some depth on the plate. So I really like that, but you can use any rice that you like. And you're just going to fold it through. It's a minimal amount. It's 3/4 of a cup. So it's not a ton of it, but it's enough to really add the rustic flavor to it. So you're going to add that in, and then you're going to fold in your cranberries. I'm opting out of the cranberries right now because I'm just going to keep this really savory. If anybody else is going to do that along with me, keep it not sweet and savory. You can, and then maybe add in an herb if you like, or just pop your cranberries in right now. And you're going to just fold it all the way through so that you get really underneath and you get this beautiful speckled, almost like a poppy seed style dough or batter, if you've ever made poppy seed muffins. Okay. It's thick. If anybody else is cooking along, I know sometimes we like to watch and then like, okay, save this for a to do in the future. I'm just gonna check comments. If you're cooking along and you have a comment about how thick it is, because it is way thicker than, say, the blueberry batter or blueberry muffin batter or a chocolate chip muffin batter, much, much thicker. The corn helps with that. It's absorbing a lot of the liquid that we put in there in terms of the milk and the oil. And it has a nice consistency. So you see that consistency where it doesn't drip really quickly. It takes a while to drip. That's what you want, okay? We have a lot of grain in this. So it needs to hold up. It needs to really have its structure. It has a nice amount of our leavening, 2.5 teaspoons. So it will rise nice bit in the oven. So we want to give it some space to rise. So we're gonna measure, I would say mine are really deep. Mine are like 6-ounce muffin tins. They're the jumbo muffins. They're like the $5 muffins at the deli. So these are really big. So I'm going to go about, this was my 1/2 cup measure. I'm going to do about a 1/2 cup. See how high I went? So go ahead and fill your muffin tins. If anybody has questions they want to pop in the chat, go ahead. Comments about this. If anyone ever had a muffin like this before with rice in it, reminds me of like stuffing muffins, if you've ever had a stuffing muffin. Around Thanksgiving time, we put everything in a muffin tin. So you can do a stuffing muffin like this style. You can use your leftover rice from Thanksgiving and add your stuffing mix. I can actually get 6 really nice muffins out of this. My situation here. There we go. I think I'll probably get 5 really good ones. What I have left is not enough really to fill my other one. Maybe I could. It'll be a little tiny, but I like for them all to be the same size, but I can get a little bitty mini one. I don't want to use another tray. So those are my muffin tins. I recommend this at 400 degrees. So the reason I say a 400-degree oven, is because we do have a lot of grain in it. I just saw a comment pop up. Yes, so just like oats, yes, that's a very good like correlation. It's a really good to draw that line. You can use oats in a recipe like this. So oatmeal would be a great option. Rolled oats, even instant oats. I know they don't have the same nutritional value, but yes, those kinds of oats. You could also use, if anybody's really into quinoa, quinoa is a really great addition to a muffin like this. So you can do quinoa rice mix, and there's also like quinoa chia, and all of that. So that's a good kind of, you ever see like the tricolor mixes in the supermarket? Those are really great. I never know like what to do with those things. I'm like, okay, we can make it as a side, right? But that's kind of thing that once you've cooked it and you have all that left over, you don't want to eat that same side like a couple of nights in a row. So bake it into your muffin. So that's definitely a good correlation. I love the oats. I can't believe I didn't think of oats. I put oats in everything. I put oats in my meatballs as a little aside. I crush them up and make an oat flour and I add it to my meatballs instead of breadcrumbs, and my kids get a little extra fiber and protein. So that's my little trick. So this is going to go right in the oven. I'm going to stand up and put that in the oven. And you're going to 400 for about 20 minutes. So it's not a long process, but it's concise. Right, here we go. My oven's going to be a little bit loud, so excuse that. I'm going to come around here and. All right, I moved away for a minute. So that's in the oven. I also like this recipe because this is all I have to wash. I put everything together. Put your grains in the same bowl. This is great, right? We only have this one little bit of something to wash. You very easily turn this into a dinner muffin. That's what I was saying before. So think about other things that could go in the muffin. The oats, the leftover wild rice, the quinoa, all of that stuff can go in there. If you're adding in the cranberries, you can also sub out some blueberries. You can sub out grated apples. You can sub out bananas, anything sweet. So the reason we do that, we add a little bit of sweetness, is to take the kind of the heavy fibrous idea off of the muffin, off of the flavor of it, and make it a little bit make it make sense, right? We're looking at a muffin, we expect it to be sweet, and it's not. So we add that in just so that it's a little more palatable, and we kind of go past all of that. The fiber and the grain of it kind of comes together. Corn muffins are a great option for sweet or savory. I love jalapeno corn, so if you like a little bit of spice, you can put a little bit of jalapeno in this as well. Jalapeno, wild rice, corn muffins all go together. And even the cranberry and the jalapeno is fine. Like a cranberry relish that's a little spicy is delicious, but it's going to add a little bit of spice, a little bit of flavor. So think about all of those things that you've seen maybe, and you've been like, oh, I've never tried that. Maybe you can add it to this. I mentioned the milk before, and the oil. Coconut oil for this, it would weigh down a lot of grain. So when we cook with coconut oil, it's usually a very light, like saute of coconut oil, and it's not a big amount of it. And it's a very pronounced flavor. So for the purposes of this, you're going to use more of your neutral oil so that you can play around with your flavors. If we did coconut, you kind of have to stay on a track that would work in that flavor profile. So while you're learning to cook with grain and kind of make that part of your kind of heart healthy baking profile, start with more neutral oils and then start to expand on your flavors, if that makes sense. If you cook your wild rice in a base of coconut oil, then, try that first and then add that to the muffin. Risotto too. So risotto is the same way. Risotto is a creamy rice, and we use that when we bake with that. We do like cheese and rice and milk and stuff like that. So you want to think about the way that you would serve your rice and how you would add to that muffin. Comment up there. No, I think that would be great. Oats and oat milk, I think the flavors would work really well together. Oat milk is really, really creamy. It's you don't need a lot of it too. And I think in this recipe we just use like a half a cup of milk. So it would almost make it like more of like a rich muffin. So I think that's definitely not too much oat at all. Almond milk, I like to use almond milk. I use the unsweetened almond milk. Don't use a vanilla. The vanilla almond milk would confuse a lot of the flavors in here. We didn't add vanilla to this, so I wouldn't use that to it. Your sweetness can come from your fruit if you want to add some sweetness. But the neutral almond milk works well because it doesn't taste like anything. And skim milk, I don't use a lot in cooking, but I will use it when I need liquid that is not water, that has a little bit of body, but low calorie. So all of this is very, very low. And I think I had the nutritional value of this, so I'm going to look that up for you guys. Let me get it. Because I always think that's like helpful when you're trying a new recipe, is to, weigh the benefits of it. Do I want to eat this? Is this something that is going to fit into my lifestyle? What's the value of it? And for this one, yeah, this is my recipe here. So this one I use giant muffin tins, so mine are going to be a little bit more. But if you have a baking tin that has the medium muffins, which is the average one with 12, the baking tins, the cupcake tray that has 12. If you fill that 3/4 of the way, each muffin will have 150 calories. 5 grams of fat, 3 grams of protein, and 25 carbs. So I don't generally count a lot of that stuff in general in my life, but what I do like to keep track of is my fats. This has 0 saturated fat. So if you're using the right oil, you're going to get 0 saturated fat. And it has 0 cholesterol. So I like that for like the heart healthy aspect of it. Our sodium is very low in this, very, very low. So it's a good low sodium, low salt recipe. And our fat is going to be low as well. So those are the nutritional aspects. 150 calories for muffins, pretty good, right? When it has that much grain in it, it's going to be really satisfying. It's a really good amount, I think. And I don't want you to worry too much about calories, but it's good to know all of that stuff. I love the sodium is very low. That's important to me. I don't know if it's important to anybody else, but it's definitely important to me. If you do try it, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Because this is one of those ones that I was like, you know what, this could be a hit or a miss. But it's important to just kind of try to use what you would normally consider like leftover or food waste in new ways so that you can, one, use it all and not waste it. And two, continue to enjoy the health benefits of it. So wild rice is very, very good for us. Wild rice has less sugar starch than white rice. So if you can start to make a little bit of a switch from white to wild, that would be great. Yes, you can. Apples would be my go-to. Grated apples are amazing because they let off a lot of juice as well. So when you grate an apple, depending on what size you used for mine, I'm going to put them in for 20 minutes because they're really big. But for yours, you're going to check them in 15 to 18. So I'm going to check mine in 20 because they're very, very big. For the one that's the 12, you're going to go a little bit lower than that. So I would check it like 16, 18 around that time. And then put a toothpick in the middle, make sure it comes out clean. I did like the jumbo one. So when you have a larger muffin, you just want to make sure that you account for the extra volume that you're looking for in there. And I was mentioning apples. So if you use grated apples, the reason I like berries, like blueberries, cranberries, strawberries, and I put them in a lot of my recipes is because when you mix them, they get rid of a lot of liquid. So it creates a lot of moisture in your muffin so that when it steams, when it's in the oven, it creates steam and it stays moist. Scones generally don't have that moisture. They're drier. They're supposed to be, right? But muffins, I like for them if I don't eat the whole thing in the morning or I don't eat the whole thing in the afternoon and I want to finish it, I would like for it not to dry out. And similarly, like if I make 12 of them, I'm probably not eating all 12 at once. So it's going to sit either in my fridge or my bread box or my counter in a Ziploc for a couple of days. So this way, with the fruit, the added moisture, you have a little bit of, a little more lusciousness, a little more moisture there. I definitely recommend grated apples. I think grated apples are a great opportunity and a great way to get flavor, moisture, and health benefits. A lot of fiber in apples. And especially the apples with the wild rice is a great combo. Really, really good. I really like putting apples in a lot of things. I like putting those kinds of like tart fruits in baked items and in things like salads and stuff like that. So try that. You can also try like seasonal fruits like chopped peaches in a couple months when they come into season, and you can try things like blackberries and all of that stuff and like play around with it and see. Those richer fruits work really well with the wild rice. Yeah, I would try peaches too. I like the peaches in there. And maybe with the peaches, like swap out a little bit of the rice for some oats, so you get like a little bit of that like oatmeal essence. Peach oatmeal is a really popular thing in my house right now. Everybody loves the peach oatmeal. So that might be good too. And if you really want to get heart healthy, you could incorporate some spinach too. Spinach is a great addition to baked goods because it's minimal, like it takes up a small footprint in your baking. You can use a lot of it and it reduces, and you just kind of mix it through and it works really well. Um, yeah, peach oatmeal is a fan favorite in my house. We used peach puree before, peach puree in our oatmeal, and it's like very, very delicious. There's a farm in East Brunswick, Giamarisi Farms, and they make their own preserves. And they have a peach preserve that is absolutely delicious. So we make a homemade oatmeal on the stove and add the peach preserves to it. And it's the fan favorite. You put a little bit of cinnamon. It was great when it was cold out. Now that it's 90 degrees, I don't think peach oatmeal is going to be on the menu in my house anymore. I would chop the spinach. So I would blanch the spinach and maybe just chop it up a little bit because sometimes the leaves can be really big. Yeah, the instant peach oatmeal is really good too. The Walmart, like the True Value or Great Value, they make a variety pack of oatmeal, and peach is always in there, and that's the first one that goes in my house all the time. Yeah, the instant. I know instant food, microwave food is not like ideal for every day, but it's a great like vacation food. Bring your breakfast with you. It's a great one to keep on hand, and it's also really good for overnight oats. You can like sprinkle it into your overnight oats. Let me see what else I have in here on my other ones. Yeah. Oh, dried cherries. I have that in my notes. Dried cherries. I don't love dried cherries, but my kids like dried cherries a lot. So I put those, I randomly stud those into things. So yeah, you could try those as well. Those are all the notes I have for the subs. So if anybody else can think of anything, any other subs, I would love to hear them. And I'd love to hear if you guys do make them, like what you do. But in terms of the technique of this recipe, it's the one bowl method, which is you're going to start with your dry, what we did, and incorporate all of the dry. You're essentially seasoning all of your grains, seasoning all of your wheat and grain and all of that stuff, and then adding in your wet ingredients. Mix your egg with your wet ingredients first. That was like the big takeaway, I think, from the wet ingredient thing. If you don't, and you just add your egg in there, it will soak up those grains, especially the cornmeal, and create clumps, and it's going to be harder to get out. The egg's job in this recipe is to bind. That's why if you're using your egg whites, that's your binding agent. And if you're using your egg substitute, if you're keeping cholesterol down and all of that, the job of it is to bind, and you want that to happen. You don't want the egg to soak up all of that, the cornmeal. That's where you're gonna find it. If you've ever made pancake mix, like if you made your own pancake mix from home and you let it sit for a while, like you do the flour and the baking powder, baking soda, sugar, and you put it in a container and then you just measure it and add your wet, you might see that happen with your egg. That doesn't happen the first time you make it, but the more it sits and absorbs that humidity, the more often it happens that your egg will like clump up and take it, like kind of absorb all of that. I hear my steam happening on my oven, so I'm going to check it in a few minutes. I pumped it up a little more. I'm using a convection oven, by the way. I think if you guys have cooked with me before or you've been to one of the virtual classes, I'm using convection heat, which is circular heat. Not all of us have convection heat at home. Most of us have like a standard bake oven, which is normal. What convection heat does is circulate the air all the way around so that you have a more even bake surface and your heat stays consistent. Bakers like it for the reason that of humidity in the kitchen. A convection oven will keep your humidity level the same in the oven. A day like today, outside it's super hot, but inside, if you haven't had your AC on and you're just leaving it like ambient temperature and you come into like your office, it might feel humid. It might actually feel humid in your classroom or in your office. If you were to try to bake in a situation like that in a regular oven, your oven would absorb that humidity, so it would be a little uneven. a convection oven, if you're cooking with convection heat in an environment like this, it makes sure that the humidity is not a factor. So little bit of like oven technology info for you guys there. Anyone have questions about that? No? Okay. Okay, let's see. No more chats. So I'm going to check my muffins. I'm going to bring them and show you guys. They are not going to brown as much as like a blueberry muffin or chocolate chip muffin. So we really didn't use a lot of sugar, right? We only used one kind of sugar, and we have more grain than we do sugar. So I want you to think about that when you see them. You might look at them and be like, oh, they're all blander than like my breakfast muffin. And that's because we have less sugar, less sweet than we do savory. If you are using your cranberries or blueberries or apples, you're going to get a little bit more browning than I did. They're so pretty, right? And you can see the studs from the rice, like just kind of poking through. But it's not like, ew, is that rice in there? Where someone would be like, why is there a rice in my muffin? It just looks like it's part of it, like the beautiful colors. If you get a really good wild rice that has like the orange and the purples and all of that stuff, please do that because it looks so pretty. But I have like this nice kind of springy, it's hot, so I'm not going to take them out yet, but this nice springy muffin, this one's my little baby one, that is, but still dense. It really feels like a nice, nice consistency, a really nice hearty dessert or breakfast, or have this on the side with some soup. It really does take the place of your, roll, your bread, your croissant. It really can, and it can provide that same that like a bread would. Yeah, they almost look like a biscuit, and you're gonna get that essence from anything that's cooked with a lot of grain. If you did fruit, it's gonna look a little more, colorful. But yeah, it's gonna have that like nice cornbread consistency, which I love. I don't know. Cornbread's a fan favorite for our kitchen here. Kids really love cornbread. Adults love it because you can customize it. You can make it sweet. You can make it savory. It's really easy to bake, and it's like banana bread. It takes a little bit longer than you want it to, but worth it in the end because it's got a lot more structured body. And it's affordable. I love cornmeal for all of those reasons. I do cornmeal in my pancake mix sometimes, and then you call them Johnny cakes. They're like corn cakes. It's really good. I'm going to pop one out. Let me just grab a knife. I'm going to pop one out. It's going to be a little hot, so I'm not going to handle it too much, but I want you guys to see. It's a nice... I didn't use muffin liners. You can use a muffin liner, and it'll have like that kind of shell on the outside. And like I said, mine are really, they're bigger, wider muffins. But like it's got a nice bit of brown over there. It's got this nice, you can see all the moisture down there. Really nice studs from the rice. This like big kernel of rice right there, I really like sticking out like that. So it's a very nice looking muffin, and it looks appealing. Almost like a brunch muffin, right? Like a nice brunch item. A lot of people have told me when they have made this that they've had it for instead of like bread with their dinner, and it's very satisfying. We definitely want you guys to try that. But it looks nice. It's hot, so I'm going to put it down in a minute. But look, mine's very large, so try it with soup too. Not now, not 90-degree weather, but soup is a great. This is a great muffin for soup. Any questions? Oh, I would. Yes. So, if you want to do like a chocolate chip muffin, I wouldn't put the rice. I would do the corn and the corn and the egg and the bake, all of everything else. Keep out the rice. If you want to do chocolate chips, take out the rice and substitute it maybe with oats. So think about the sweet that you're adding. and how it might match it. I consider wild rice like earthy grains and like more like um, dark. So that's why I like the cranberries and the apples and the cherries. They're more like fall-esque flavors, even though it's a hot summer day. Chocolate chips are have natural they have natural sugar and artificial sugar for using milk chocolate, and it has butter in it, cocoa butter. So it's a rich, really sweet item. So the wild rice might be a little odd of a combination. So start with oats. So if you want to do the chocolate chips, I like that. Swap, do exactly the same thing. Take out your cranberries, do chocolate chips. Take out your rice and do oats. So you still have a grain-based muffin that's heart healthy, but it's going to complement the chocolate chips. I say dipping sauces for everything. I love a dipping sauce. Depending on what you did for this, like what your inclusions are in this, come up with a great sauce for it. If you had, like a gravy with dinner and you wanted to add that in, because it's cranberry, it works really well with like a relish and stuff like that. Syrups and all of that stuff I wouldn't do, like artificial syrups, but I love a dip for everything. Mango relish is great because mango and wild rice is a really popular combo. Anything with the dark fruits, dark cherries, dark blueberries, all of that stuff works really well. And you can also try applesauce. So an apple butter would be great. I love an apple butter. And if you can hit that they're going to open up for the season, if they're not already open for the season, Giamarisi Farms, they have amazing spreads. Peach spread, apple butter, pumpkin butter, really good pumpkin butter. That would be great with this. Squash is an amazing addition to this. So you can add in some squash to this, up your fiber content, and then you can use that as a spread also. They smell really good. I wish like you guys could smell them. If anybody ever wanted to like come in and cook during the virtual, reach out to the library and myself, and we can do like a combo. Because it might be easier to get you guys cooking if you want to do it here. Bring all your stuff and we'll cook virtually with everyone. Because the smell is really great and it makes me feel like it's a healthy baked product, as opposed to like, my daughter made chocolate chip cookies today. So walked in the house and I was like, oh, it smells so good like cookies. And then I went to like really smell and I was like, what is, what do I smell? And it just smelled sweet. So I was like, ooh, you know what? It smells like warm baked goodness, but it does smell like a little too much like sugar in here. Whereas this smells like almost like when you make a cup of chai, like earthy and rich and warming. Odd for a day like today, but it's going to be perfect for Monday when it goes back down to 50 degrees. So yes, I will put in the chat about the farm. Giamarisi Farm, East Brunswick. I'm going to do some picking there in a couple weeks when they open for all of their picking, and I'll probably do like a meetup if anybody wants to go and pick things together. They do strawberry. They definitely do apple and stuff in the fall, but coming up into now, there's strawberry picking in June, sugar snap peas. What else do they have? Peaches. It's a small farm, so it's not like Delicious Orchards or anything like that where it's like crazy. They have a small farm stand. There's no like line for the donuts or anything like that. It's very small, very local, but that's why I like it, because you can go in, you pay your fee, you get what you want, you hit the little market and you go, and they have amazing homemade things there. It's very, very small, very, low key. Yes, try them. I would love for you guys to try them. I know this is a new one. Some of the recipes we've done have been like kind of more traditional, and we've had a few that have been like, okay, this is going to make me think a little differently about food. I think this is one of those. So try it and then decide, like, I'm going to go in this direction with this recipe. I'm going to add more sweet. I'm going to change up my grain. I'm going to add the addition of another vegetable. Whatever it is that you want to try, but kind of experiment a little bit with it, because this is a good recipe for that. Well, thank you guys for coming tonight. I know it's a hot day and everyone's probably like one outdoorsy things. So it was great that you guys joined.
Does anyone have any last minute questions? Or again, if you're interested, like what other greens? Someone
We
asked.
definitely try oatmeal. I would do some oatmeal, would be a great sub or to add in. Quinoa and your tricolor blend. So there's a blend on the market of like a tricolor grain, which is quinoa, um, not chai, the seeds, chia, quinoa, chia, and like blend or like a grain blend. Those are really great. Farro is it's not a new grain. It's an ancient grain that is coming back into play in terms of health benefits. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful grain. So you can make it and save it and then use it in a lot of things. We are in, I don't know if you know where the store is right across from the Wawa. So the Wawa is right there, the Wawa on Washington. All right, well, thank you guys. Thanks for joining and for cooking.